So anyway, that's just one capability in this chain of things. So in a technology like that, it's a massive amount of expertise that is put in some cases, an investment for one chip, we usually put in about anywhere from $50 to $100 million just to get that first product. Or you better hit the market properly, otherwise 100 million lost, but we have our losses too. So we talked about all of those three global markets. There's another one, sorry. We found out that another conduit to all of this technology knowledge is foreign education. And research has shown that it creates lasting international networks. Meaning once you do that you have a potential source forever, assuming you exploit it. And also, learning is in many cases faster than inventing. And hence all this scholarship. In other words, you can short circuit 10 and 20 years of R&D, assuming you have the knowledge, you bring it in through education, and hopefully you can improve on it. We said earlier, it's not sufficient to just know it and be just equivalent to others. But so therefore education is key again here. We found that out. There's clear evidence that through education you can be faster than inventing. And so that is really crucial, therefore. In the last 5-6 years, the commitment by this government is simply amazing. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So what I want to do now is give a couple more examples of the things that the government or these current governments willing to do, assuming that you can present the big idea to them. They think very big. I have never seen this in the previous administrations. And I thought at the beginning of this attention to the Philippines started with President Ramos. There it didn't develop much during his trips here. He always, there's what's nice with these trips is that, especially with the government or the president, a lot of companies they talk to, they bring in delegations, and a lot of proposals go back and forth. The extent of my involvement was, and he always liked to take off from San Francisco, regardless of where he went to. So I was there being requested to an hour or 2 hours before he takes off to meet with him. The first time, I was just, wondering what's happening. But then I learned what he did was he has this list of priorities that they need to make decisions on when it comes to technology products, coming from all over the US companies that they talk to. And very simply he said, all right, here's the list, give me your comments. That's hard because, hey, wait a minute, you're leaving right away and I need to study this. No, just give me your instincts. Okay, fine. Oh, Oracle, cross that off. No, I'm just kidding. But literally there are so many ideas that are given to them that it's hard to sort out. So you really need to be knowledgeable about technologies. And I dutifully, of course, commented on those with conditions. If you proceed with this, can you please call me or someone from one of your secretaries, because there's a lot of nuances after that. And maybe I can deploy the right expertise for you guys to be able to move forward. So that was the extent. The big thing actually happened during GMA. Current administration expanded that. Okay, so another program that we are about to start, we're very close, is bringing in or establishing 2 research institutes. I was very worried that, so we have a bunch of PhDs and masters, where do they go? the intention, of course, has always been some of you guys will go back into teaching because we don't have enough teachers with PhDs in the sciences and engineering, so there's production there in the faculty and so on, quality, therefore, eventually. But we also want a lot of them to go into industry. And so, fine, but if the industry is not willing to spend money in research, where do you go? You will sit behind a desk as a manager because you have a PhD, and that's usually the tendency, by the way. Even if you have no management expertise, somehow you become a manager simply because you have a PhD. It's just that within 3 years you lost your technical, and that's what I tell them. Anyway, so I convince some PhD graduates, Filipinos, that I advise to stay here, learn to trade first. Stay in Silicon Valley if the practice is here. But the idea of technology innovation really happens in research labs, whether it is a university or a national lab set up by the government. So we came up with this program, PhilDev, where we convinced them to set up 2 research institutes, one in infrastructure technology, a lot of, whether it's electronics, communication, computing, and others, materials, and health. That has not started yet. We are working on the last few things. I'm learning the government processes. So the future directors are coming here in 2 weeks to discuss with their counterparts at UC Berkeley and UCSF. Berkeley on the engineering side and UCSF on the health side, biology and so on. These are clearly 2 of the top institutions in their respective fields in the US and arguably in the world. But I thought that if we have to convince the government for this such activity, and it's high cost, we might as well bring some of the best. And so, one more time, I put my neck on the line and talked to the university, said, hey, would you be willing to help us out? Now, I do have a little bit of history at Berkeley and a little bit at UCSF, but more at Berkeley, and I said, okay, well, let's take a look at it. So, the short of it is that we are in the final phases. But it is intended to take a lot of our engineering talent, it doesn't matter whether it's a Bachelor of Science, Master's, PhD, to go into these laboratories to create, to innovate some technologies, key technologies, priorities in the country. So a lot of discussions since late last year. We have approved about, oh gosh, Christina, do you remember, not Christina, Catherine, do you remember how many? I think about 40 projects. Yeah. Some of them are already way down the research phase because we wanted to see some results right away. The government is funding this. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. But the benefit could be 10 times, 20 times more over time. This is amazing. I mean, when we came up with this idea, we were saying, all right, this could be our one moonshot. We were pleased that it was really not a moonshot, although we have to deliver now when we start. We haven't started yet. So, but that is a part of the chain of knowledge base for you guys who want to invest in the Philippines in information, communication, and other technology. The future is there. We will be producing some of the world's best. It will take time, but we will get there. The same thing on the biology and health side. And I toured UCSF's laboratories and professors. It's amazing. That campus they have here has been funded multiple billions of dollars. And to get a piece of that knowledge, there will be a lot of exchanges, professors. There will be a lot of training in between Berkeley, Philippines, UCSF, and Philippines, and so on. So you can imagine there's a multiplier effect right away. Again, this government is simply they know what it takes. But they do need help from the privates like us. If you have a big idea, don't deal with small, because for them it's clutter. I find that is good. Because they clearly want to move the needle here in the economy fairly fast. Okay, another project, and maybe I will end there because I'm taking too much of the program's time. All of that work so far in the last six, seven years has been at a very high level of education and practice. Or what happens at the ground level here, meaning to produce an engineer with a Bachelor of Science, where do they all come from? And that's again is where we are lacking. Relative to different fields, whether it's law, medicine, and others, science and math is still lagging. So we came up with a program where, in a lot of my discussions with some of the cabinet members, they have this automated idea of learning, which is good, applied properly. There are a lot of benefits. After all, we're part of the digital world now, and so you have to start at the very beginning. Now, I will connect that eventually to where do we get our materials for engineers. They buy laptops and so on, and coming from here, of course, we all know what that implies in terms of cost. Not only the acquisition cost, but the total cost of ownership. And in our discussions with them, I just put it out there that you don't have enough money to sustain the whole country, all elementary schools and high schools. You don't have enough money for this if you do that. Besides, I doubt that you get the benefit of what you're thinking of by simply buying. Number one, you're exporting valuable tax dollars to other countries where you're buying from, where only a small portion of that, 5-8%, may stay in the country because we can assemble that here. But the cost really goes to the product owner or the profits. So why don't we do that here? It was my suggestion. So again, they said, okay, why don't you come up with a proposal? So we proposed an entire infrastructure for Department of Education for elementary schools and high schools, the whole country. And that is what we call an infrastructure for communication and computing. Meaning, one of the issues with disconnected computers is that there's that inherent cost. So we designed, architected, and are in the design process now of the different components of that infrastructure for communications and computing. In the classroom, there will be, of course, displays and very simple devices. There's an input device, typical keyboard probably, but we will enhance that eventually to other things, maybe even voice, but we're starting with very simple things. In the back of the monitor is the guts of a very simple, but can still do all the functions of what we call thin client. Somewhere in a room in the building, in the school building, would be a server or multiple servers, where a lot of the computing work actually happens, and that does not get obsoleted very quickly. It's really the thin client that you can churn very quickly, but that is relatively cheap. Okay, so that whole thing is networked within the classrooms and multiple classrooms. We also added, so that first layer server services the school, and then we added on top of that the hierarchy, a second layer where it is more administration and servers for school teachers to collaborate where the students cannot access because those are where the grades are and stuff like that. So that it is not cluttered by student traffic. Keep in mind that this is also intended for high school, beyond elementary schools. And so high school students are very creative. They will put a lot of load in the system. And then we created a third layer for the Department of Education where they can curate the material for the kids. In other words, there is a way to filter properly content, or where they can introduce new content, take out obsoleted content, and so on. Okay, now I will now connect it to how we get kids to get excited about science.